Should I sit down somewhere while you do the photography?
There. That man drinks it all. All right, well, good morning. Glad to have you guys down here. What time are we at? 8:41. All right, those that are my team leaders, I have some parents that are helping volunteer and at least one or two others. If you guys, those that are my team leaders, if you can meet inside the museum in the theater, straight through these doors there. Kelly Bullock, I think, hopefully you're here. Steve Kerr, Julie, I saw you around earlier. Cecilia, Jack Conway is around here somewhere. And Cassandra Sparks. So head into the theater so I can give an orientation to all my team leaders. We'll be getting started here in about 20 minutes. All right, we're just about on time. This is like absolutely amazing. Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all to the International Printing Museum. I would think that for probably most of you, it's probably your first experience down here at the museum. Yeah? Well, you guys need more Starbucks. More caffeine.
Free coffee.
Yeah. We got our coffee over here where it's emptying out, I think, at this point. Well, welcome down to the museum. This actually is one of the world's largest collections of working antique printing presses just about anywhere. You guys have a very unique opportunity today to experience this merit badge in such a place. And what makes this place really come alive is that it's a working museum. So we can do a merit badge like this with great fanfare. So it'll be a wonderful day here in front of you. By the way, just to give you a background of the museum, this is mostly one guy's collection in Los Angeles. Spent most of his life finding these machines. His name is Ernie Lindner. You'll hear about him a little bit more on the tour part of your day. And Ernie, if you didn't read in all your paperwork and background, Ernie himself, at your age, was a Boy Scout, became an Eagle Scout. His son followed in that path, became an Eagle Scout, and his grandson has become an Eagle Scout, who's now about 30. He's usually cooking our hot dogs, but he's not here today. So we have somebody else cooking your hot dogs. So great heritage connected to this collection and all. My name is Mark Barbour. I'm the curator and the director here. This is where I get to play and enjoy this. I was also a Boy Scout. Didn't make it to Eagle Scout, but I was there. And so for our day, and also our counselor here today as well is Don Burge. Don runs Burge Cooper printing company here in Los Angeles. Hopefully at some point you might be able to get a tour up at Burge Cooper as a follow-up to today's event. And that's one of the best printing houses in Los Angeles, if not the Western United States, if not the country.
The world, I'd say.
The world, yes, as the world gets smaller.
Right.
And so now in your course of your day today, just to let you know, you guys will be rotating around about 8 stations. That's 8 or 9 or 10 segments or somewhere like that. And we've got all sorts of activities for you. Lots of hands-on printing. You have some presentations, some interactions and stuff. You'll be making things. Keep in mind on safety here. This is a working museum. You are not to be screwing around. These are working machines. You have an opportunity and a privilege to be around both working machines and industry professionals and craftsmen who know how to work this stuff. So please follow those instructions. If you choose to screw around, you'll get a quick warning. If you really choose to screw around, we're going to give you an application for the Girl Scouts. You're not taking me seriously. So we generally always have pretty good behavior and all that around here, but lots of fun things to do and enjoy. Keep in mind also, there's a couple of the stations that are in the front here. They're like an hour long. They're a little more of the lecture. Some of you got those. We get those through kind of in the morning. Don't worry, the whole day is not a bunch of lectures. So, but engage, use your mind, think about things. Hopefully you guys all read your merit badge books. Okay? Got through the stuff. It's actually a very fascinating industry you guys are about to be exposed to. Really wonderful stuff. Also, your day is made possible here by the support of the Printing Industry Association of Southern California, who helps to underwrite the cost of this day. This day requires about 30 volunteers and about 400 volunteer hours. I don't know if you can appreciate that. That's a lot of work. That's all of you putting in 4 hours to make this happen. Okay? So show some respect, enjoy the day. Hopefully this will be one of your best merit badge days. that you have experienced. It's only our 6th one. We're sort of learning how to do it. All right, so with that, you guys are going to be breaking up into your teams, not yet, but on your name badge is your team number. So at the right moment, you're going to be heading towards your team leaders. First of all, let's go ahead and start our day appropriately with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Scouts, face the flag. John's going to lead us in the pledge.
Okay. This flag. You have a uniform. Salute. If not, hand over heart. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. All right, now our team leaders. We have 8 team leaders spread out in different areas. Put up your team placards. Go find your team leaders. By the way, guys, the snack shack will be open in about a half hour. $1 for all snacks and drinks. Lunch, $5. Head to your team leaders. Introduce each other. No fights, no brawls. All right, have at it. The day begins.
Hello. Excuse me, Mom. My voice gets off. We'll do this as mine. Anyways, my name is Phil. What team is this? Team 2. Team 2. Nice to see you. Well, welcome to the Printing Museum at Merit Badge Day. I'm an actor, writer, cartoonist, and I use a lot of paper. How many of you use paper? Yeah. A lot of grown-ups talk about the computer coming in. You folks can sit down if you like. A lot of people talk about the computer coming in. It's going to be a paperless society. I say, c'est de baloney. That's ridiculous. We use a lot of paper. When was the last time you used paper?
Today.
Today? What'd you use it for? To get in here, yes, to get in here, to register, use paper. When you come to your, if I came to your house, let's say, where would I find paper in your house?
The printer.
The printer, yeah, coming out of your printer. Where else? Textbooks, school books, yes, very important. Where else would I find paper in your house? Let's say the living room, where would I find paper?
Books.
Books, okay. What about magazines?
Letters.
Letters? People still send letters?
Yeah. Not really like letters, but like envelopes.
Oh, envelopes, okay. Pay those bills.
Bills.
Newspapers, and also, let's not forget, where else in the house are we going to use a lot of paper? Oh, the calendar, very good. Not too many people mention that, it's good.
The bathroom.
The bathroom. One of you are going to bring it up. Where in the bathroom do you use paper? That toilet tissue, bathroom tissue is a nice polite way of saying it to your aunt. Where else are we going to use paper elsewhere? In the kitchen?
Towels.
Towels, paper towels. Good. What else paper?
Tissues.
Tissues? Oh, you use tissues also? Yes, you could in the kitchen. Napkins, good. Where else paper in the house? What about inside the cupboards? Boxes of cereal. That's paper, that's cardboard, but it's still paper. Paper's used all over the place. When you think about it, we use lots of paper every single day, even in shipping. Now here's a great little story. When I was around your age, back in the golden summers, long ago, my buddies and I found a huge, big refrigerator box. And it actually contained refrigerators. They were moving it. We had a blast with that box all the way through summer. It became our time machine. It became our submarine. It became our fort. And believe it or not, that box lasted all the way through summer. It was very resilient to take care of 3 or 4 guys playing around all summer long with it. Cardboard. And they talk about complex, tight cardboard boxes that actually can ship heavy-duty things. When you talk about particle board, you're using forms of paper. So yes, we use paper always, constantly, throughout our whole lives. Now, when we talk about paper, though, the history of paper, what do you think man did before paper was invented? What did he use in order to communicate? Let's go all the way back. On stones, the painting on stones to communicate that way. That's good. What else on stone? Animal skin. We call it vellum or something. Where's the music coming from? We get rid of the music, thank you. Chiseling out names and things like that on stone as well. This is a form of communication right here. Ancient Babylonians used this. Now they actually would, this is an actual receipt. They actually would take long sticks. Yes. Did you ever take a stick and kind of draw, or try to write your name in mud? Then you let it dry and see what happens? Like, it's pretty tough, but it's pretty rough to try to do intricate things in mud to even draw. So these guys actually used on clay tablets long sticks that were like wedge-like. What do we call this type of writing? Cuneiform. Who said cuneiform? Show of the hand is white. Very good. Cuneiform. Actually, cuneiform means wedge writing, because that's the way they actually would write in this ancient form of communication. This is a receipt. And when I say receipt, what do I mean by receipt? What's a receipt? What would you describe a receipt? If you buy something and... Yes, what's your name? Daniel. Let's say Daniel was in my store and he walks out the store with something, and I say, Daniel, you can't walk out there without paying for it. He's going to say, this is my receipt. This is my payment for what I just bought, my proof of purchase. Now, imagine this. This is an actual receipt for a lady who was a slave in ancient Babylonia. And she actually was given this to prove that she was now free. So if anyone stopped her along the street, she could whip out this receipt and say, I'm free. Also, the slave owner who gave her the freedom gave her a receipt and put the curse of the receipt upon it, saying, whoever goes up against this receipt and goes up against the will that I give to set this slave free will have terrible things happen. Like wedgies, I don't know, terrible, horrible things happen. But this was an actual way of communication in those days. Now look at it this way. We also had another form of communication. Let me see. In a country called ancient Egypt, what was that called? Hieroglyphics. But what do they write the hieroglyphics on? Papyrus. Now, let me see. I need a slave. This here will be my slave. Come up here. Come here, slave. What is your name?
Justin.
You have no name, slave. You're a slave. Unroll it. This is papyrus. This is a form of paper that they would actually use to paint and do these beautiful pieces of artwork on. And yes, hieroglyphics. Who is this goddess? Beautiful goddess.
I think Isis.
Isis. Very good, very good. And look at this cartouche. This is a cartouche. That is like the nameplate of who you're sending this off to, or for religious matters, it could be the god that you're sending it to, or it could be, well, this is Cleopatra's cartouche. That was a nameplate. This also could be also a title to any kind of form, legal form you were writing out to. But look at this interesting way of creating paper. Though it really isn't paper in a roundabout way. I'm going to roll this back. Thank you, sir. Oh, now it's so pretty, my slave. All right. Actually, they would take papyrus. Now, papyrus are these beautiful, almost reed-like plants that grow along the Nile. They would take stalks of this, strip them down, and then they'd make a crisscross of them and start beating on them left and right. Because when I break a plant, 9 times out of 10, what comes out of it? Do you ever break a plant? What do you see come out of it? Yeah, that sounds like a liquid. Or almost like a plant pus in a way. It's white, it's like cream. But what they would do is they beat the papyrus back and forth to spread all of this ooze all over the place, and it's very sticky. All of a sudden, everything starts sticking together. Did you notice here on the edges, the cross patches on papyrus? That means they're all cross patches, and they wash off the liquid or the goo or the glue off of it, and they have then scrolls. Some of these scrolls actually would be attached, and they'd be 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet in length. And they used to keep all of these scrolls inside shelves. There were big libraries in those days. There was one famous library. You know the name of that most famous library? Alexandria. Yes, that was a great, great library. It stored all the knowledge of the ancient worlds. And unfortunately it was burned down when Rome invaded ancient Egypt. But that was a way of communication. Now, an interesting point about hieroglyphics is that nobody knew how to break down the communication of it because it was picture writing. But here, someone actually broke through, and this is called the Rosetta Stone. Interesting point about the Rosetta Stone. People could not understand how to find the key of breaking the translation for it. But here, a man named Champion in France actually broke through. He was fascinated by languages, and he wanted to find out how to break the code. Now, you know why the Rosetta Stone is called the Rosetta Stone? Yes, but why is it called Rosetta? Well, it was found in the town of Rosetta in ancient Egypt. Well, not in ancient Egypt, actually in the 18th century. There's a great French general who was invading Egypt at the time. You know what his name was? Napoleon. Now, Napoleon knew about this man called Champion in Paris, and these French soldiers found this Rosetta Stone. The interesting point about the Rosetta Stone is, look, at the top. What are those letters called? Hieroglyphics.
There's 3 languages.
Yes, 3 languages.
They all say the same thing, right?
All say the same thing. That was the key. So you look down here, and this is ancient Greek. Now, Champion knew how to read ancient Greek, but here in the middle was a certain type of language from ancient Egypt, and it was called Demonic. Now, this is a way for the average ancient Egyptian to write to each other. They couldn't do hieroglyphics all the time. If you wanted to write to their cousin across the Nile, this is the language they would write in. So Champion used his brains. He translated, this was about Cleopatra's era, he translated her name to the demonic, then to the hieroglyphic. And he realized that this was a way to key in the language of the hieroglyphics. So he was actually able to translate it. Finally, this was the key to break through the translation. Now, you know what the Rosetta Stone is really about? Not too many people know this, I'll share it with you. They actually were, this was like a tax report, a financial report on the city near Rosetta in ancient Egypt. So now you know something as dull as that. Yes, sir?
Is that the whole piece?
No, the whole piece looks like this, but the real piece is in the London Museum. And it's 4 times the size of this reproduction.
When they found it, was it?
Yes, it was looking like this, exactly.
Was it broken pieces?
No, it was just one piece. That's what fascinated them because it had different languages connected with it. That was the mystery key. Now, when we look at hieroglyphics, we understand that we can now translate it, but back to paper or papyrus. Let me share you a little secret. Papyrus means, the ancient Greeks used to use it for paper, but actually papyrus means that which belongs to Ra, papyra. And who was Ra in ancient Egypt?
God person?
Yes, he was the big guy. He ran the whole show. He was the centerpiece. You all came to Ra, he ran the whole show. And in fact, when you looked at paper, that meant that which belongs to Ra. In fact, let's do that together. That which belongs to Ra. Hit your heart. That's better. And the left hand has to go up to Ra. Amun-Ra, who's like the father of all the gods. So imagine this. When you actually wrote your name on a piece of paper, that which belongs to Ra, that meant your very thought belonged to Ra. In fact, everything belonged to Ra. Now, who was the human representative on earth of Amun-Ra in ancient Egypt? Pharaoh, yes. So, if you walked into a shop and asked for paper, that which belongs to Ra, you were pretty much asking for everything that belonged to Pharaoh, including you. And now you know a piece of information, not only adults know. Let me share you another piece over here. We're now talking about, though, paper. And where do you think paper actually came from? Who invented paper?
This person in China?
Yes, ancient China. When you're here at the museum, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that most things originate from China. If you ever asked that for you on a quiz, click on China, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be right. The Chinese actually used writing on silk and on bark. But they found out that they actually, this guy named Sun Lin, who was part of the Han Dynasty, and he was a top official there, he found out that he had actually created a soup to create paper out of his soup. The interesting point on this was that he actually then had this secret. The rest of the world didn't know about it up until the Islam, the inroads of Islam, and the Muslims had wars and things like that. They captured some Chinese paper makers and squeezed out the knowledge that they knew about, and paper started becoming popular in the Middle East. Meanwhile, back in Europe, they didn't have hardly any idea what paper was. It's only until the Great Crusades that they clashed with the Muslims that they learned about the secret of paper. Now, paper is actually created from big vats of fiber. I'll show you some fiber over here. Put your hand right inside and pass it along to the next scout. I just want you to feel it. When you bring your hand out, look at your hand, you're probably going to see small little fibers on it. Making paper is basically making a soup. And many times kids ask us, how do you make your paper here at the Printing Museum? We say, give us your old underwear. We'll chop it up out of plants. The fiber floats around. Then, you actually, as they did then, a guy would be stirring it, and he was stirring in his vat. He would be called the vat man. You can do the music too. And actually, he took the vat, and then they would actually sift through the screens that they would have, the decals, and then they would squeeze them over on what we call a vellum. So this vellum was actually like a couch, or couch is what they would call it. And the person who did this, you're going to be doing this today, you're going to become the coucher. So it was a 3-way process. You would stir all the fibers, then you would sift through the paper, and all the fibers would interlock. Then you'd squeeze out the water, and you'd get sheets of paper. Now look, these guys here actually created a piece of equipment back in the 18th century, getting into the 19th century. The Baudrillard brothers, in their process of putting the soup together, of squeezing out all that water to create a whole sheet of paper, was this huge machine. And look at the length of this machine. It was the length of the most famous ship, and what is she called? No. But made by the same company. The Queen Mary, down Long Beach. Yes, the
When you print the sheet, you got to figure out what to do with it. When you do the printing, there's always something else to do, like to bind it, to staple it. And the first thing we're going to do is have you make a little book. So the first thing you do is you take that piece of paper in front of you, and you hold it. Here you go.
I gotta go clean that thing up before you film it.
Sideways.
And you want this on the outside. You want the title, the Franklin Gazette, on the outside. Good. Like that. Okay. Now you're going to fold it in half this way, being sure that the Franklin Gazette stays on the outside. You got it? Okay, last time, once more, and if you look at it, that should be on the back. Yeah. Is it?
At the top?
Yeah. Okay, now each one of you is going to staple that 2 places, like right here and right here. So just do that.
Stitch it, or staple it, or whatever you want to call it.
So everybody got 2 staples in there? Okay, now that's your 16-page book. Now try to open it. See, there's a little problem. So what we have to do is trim it. Get it? Okay, great. All right, let me take yours. So we got to trim it so you'll be able to open it. Now see, that's another process that takes place in the bindery or the post-press area. be able to open that.
Well, what you did, you made what is called a signature. And all books are made from signatures, no matter what type of book it is.
Yeah, so this is called the signature, and that's a key word that you have to remember. Signature, it's like you sign your name.
You don't want to have to go through that.
There you go.
So here's a typical magazine page that you can double this. I'm not going to unfold it all. They keep folding it, folding it. They staple it, they trim 3 sides, and you have a magazine.
Now this is a demonstration of these signatures that goes to make a book. You see, when you pile them all up like that, that becomes a book, and each one of these is called a signature. What I call that?
Signature.
And those are signatures. Okay?
Remember that.
When we talked in the pulp just a few minutes ago about how water and oil don't mix, that's how this works. If you understand the process, it's just like salad dressing. Again, no matter how much you try to shake them up, they still separate, so you have water and oil. What they said on the paper side, though, was that it's a petroleum product. Almost all of the inks that we use now don't use petroleum as a basis. It uses a vegetable oil like linseed oil or soy oil. It's replacing the petrochemicals.
Now, hold on. Let me turn that off a little bit, because you'll notice now it's even thicker. Okay, the more you put in there, okay, the thicker it's going to get. Okay. Well, this is going to be thick enough. All right. If you got extra pieces, just put them down on the table, because now we're going to go over to another machine. This one. This is actually a professional model. This is called a Hollander beater. Matter of fact, I used to run this when I was in college. Many years ago. What happens is underneath here is a drum that has some bars going across here, and it turns. And rather than cutting the paper apart, like that blender is doing, it's turning it, it's kind of pulling it apart. So the fibers get separated even more. Now, obviously, it's under the hood here, so you can't see it, because as it's turning, if there was nothing cover it, it would be splashing all over the place. But when we turn it on, it pulls, scared you? It pulls all of the pulp around this way, and it's pulling the fibers apart underneath. So that as this pulp comes around, it's getting separated even more and more into the individual fibers, so that when you do make paper, which you'll be doing, or have you, or will you? You haven't? When you make it over there, you'll see the difference between this and what you make paper from. The paper pulp that's in there, there's mostly water, it's like 95% water. And only maybe 2% of the actual pulp. But this is actually separating out all the fibers. And I used to run this for my professor, and he would make paper every Friday. Sorry. He would make paper every Friday afternoon out of 100% cotton, the best material for making paper, because it lasts so long. Matter of fact, some of you got some nice jeans there that would make some beautiful paper. So if you want to take off your pants, and we can, yeah, I knew there's always one. But it makes very good paper, that cotton. As a matter of fact, if you've ever heard the expression from rags to riches, okay, that's actually
an expression from the paper industry. Many years ago, what you would do, you would buy your clothes, you would wear them until they were just ready to fall apart. But what you'd end up doing is selling it to a rag merchant. Because the clothes then would be no use to you. You'd sell it to a rag merchant who would then sell it to the paper makers. So you went from having rags to getting paid for them to riches. And that's where the expression comes from.
How do you pronounce your name? Kim. Mr. Spence. Mr. Spence.
What?
You missed your photo op.
My photo op? What happened?
Christopher already knows. My paper's all bad. Pretty good. No, Mr. Spence missed his photo.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yours had a bubble. Had a bubble bar.
Mine was perfect. I don't know how, but...
Oh, you're stuck here.
Burner.
So...
Yeah, he's had like a bee or something.
Forward. Put a little bit of pressure.
Nice.
There you go. Nice. Way to go.
What if you're putting it
Taylor.
a lot easier?
That'd be hilarious.
Hey, you
All
gotta
right.
make paper to...
This is fun. It's a lot more hands-on than I thought it would be. And then we're gonna press it. Dry.
Oh.
Yay.
When it's dry.
I didn't even ask her.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I just overheard the question.
No. Do you have to make paper to get your merit badge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay.
Oh, you didn't make any paper? Oh.
God, make paper. Oh, right.
With the girl. She's like,
Chris and Henry do it, guys.
and
Dude, I'm just gonna watch this. Anybody else want to?
Both of you guys
You
should do
already
it.
did it.
No. They're doing their thing.
All the paper. My turn.
Who wants a drink?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. I want.
So do we maybe want to carry it over?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
or no inhaler, or you know,
How will we know if it's ours?
Write your name on it, buddy.
yeah, but my elbows off.
Probably.
It's all right.
Still good, you can cut it down.
Like, wait, pull the thing off. Oh, there's mine. There's mine. It's gonna come off like a sticker now.
Okay, come on.
Like this one. Oh, there's
Now, the way that these are made is we'll just print out a black and white image on a transparency, and you expose the transparency to the emulsion, and it's sort of like developing a photograph. Once that's been baked on for long enough, then when you wash the screen out, the parts that are hardened by the light stay on, and the parts that were not exposed to the light, which is the darker areas here, they wash out when the emulsion is washed, and that leaves the image there. All right, which design do you want to do? Same one?
Yeah. I think most of them are probably going to want that.
Okay, that's kind of the most appropriate one. I'm just going to scoop the ink back there.
Oh. Sorry, I don't want to be in your way.
Alright, so take it with both hands and even pressure, push down hard and get it all the way across to about there, just so you can get it all the way to the edge of the screen. Alright, and then just try to get the corners, make sure you get the full design because the squeegee's not long enough. A little more sweat on that side, you should be good. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we print more than one?
If we get through everybody, then yeah, we can do more.
I have two, one for my brother for his birthday.
Oh, that's
Turn around and face Dennis. See those of you guys were in the back row, you thought now you're in the front row? Yeah, in the front row, pretty good. Well, good morning. We're going to make you work like ping pong. Yeah. So how early did you guys have to get up this morning to come to this event today? 7 in the morning on a Saturday? 6 o'clock. That's like sacrilegious. Well, I had to get up early too. And you know, I don't know about you guys, but you know, on Saturdays especially, you know, I was all curled up. It was nice and warm in my bed, and I was like, oh, the alarm went off. And I was like, do I have to go to work today? So, you know, I woke up and I kind of like, you know, got into the shower, I got the warm water going, and I reached down to get the shampoo for my hair, and printing was there. So, you know, after I take my shower, thank God, printing was there. So off I go to the sink. I had to brush my teeth. Well, look at there. There's printing on my toothpaste. Even my toothbrush has Dr. Terry Imagawa with a phone number. I guess so. He wants me to make sure I call him when I need to get my teeth cleaned, right? A little bit of deodorant. Has a label on it that's printed. I have to, of course, shave in the morning, so I've got a little label here that's on my shaving cream. I've even got the word Gillette printed on the little shaver that I use to shave with. I wear glasses. They're in the car right now, but I had my glasses cleaned, so I have glass cleaner with a label on it. What else do I have here that I used? Okay, that was it. So downstairs I go to have breakfast, Rice Krispies. I have kids in the house, they like Rice Krispies. And a little bit of skim milk. Notice the label that's on here. And I even have, I have to have a little bit of water on my way here to the event. And I like these little Nature Bar trail mix. Notice the box is printed. Even the packaging that holds the item is printed. So this kind of represents, all these things represents what I touched this morning just in a few minutes getting ready to come to this event. I won't mention, I used to have some money in this wallet that's gone now, that's printed. They get a little bit of gas. So you guys kind of get a feel for the size and scope of the printing industry. Just think if I took everything that you touched in a day, we could fill this whole table up with stuff, couldn't we? So printing surrounds us. Printing is everywhere around you. And so it's kind of an exciting field for you to you know, think about, right? Because there's people that, a lot of people have to work in this industry to make all this happen, don't they? I mean,
That's when they got here. Road signs.
That's right.
All the road signs, all the parking signs.
Or think even the items that are printed in this cell phone. You'd be amazed at the technology that goes in, that printing touches just about everything that you touch. Something in it is probably printed. So it gives you something to think about, right? Even the bags that I use to put all my stuff in was printed. Okay, so anyway, that's a little bit about the things that are printed. Now, most of these things, majority of the things that you see that I set out here, were printed with a process called flexography. Has anybody heard of that word before? You have? In what?
In the American.
Oh, very good. Well, that's great, because you could go and ask adults, most adults that you know, and ask them what flexography is. I mean, I get a lot of people that are tours through my college, and I ask them what flexography is. And you know that I get a very small percentage of people that know what flexography is? It's a printing process that uses a raised surface, a raised printing plate. So this is an example of a printing plate that you can use to print flexography, flexo is what we call it for short. See how it's raised? See the images are raised? See that picture of the elephant there? This is a flexo plate. It was a Christmas label, so I'm going to pass it around so you can actually touch it and see the raised surface. Oh, and there's the print from that plate, so you guys can kind of get a chance to see that. So flexography is really a big printing industry. There's a lot of flexographic printers out there, and it's really always amazing to me that people don't know. What's that? Oh, yeah. When you print, the image is backwards. That's very observant of you, because it's called direct printing. What you're going to do is you're going to put that directly onto the paper. So if you compare the paper to that, you see how you get the mirror image? So printers always have to kind of work backwards and upside down so that they can figure out how things are going to print, especially in letterpress.
Yes, like reading in the mirror.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so that's flexography. It's really interesting how people don't know what that term is, but we touch so many things in our lives that are printed with that process. I always find that interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how we get images, right? Ink on paper, that's what printers do. So this is an example of a continuous tone print. Anybody know where this came from? Where did I get this print from? Yes? Off the what? Off the internet. And that's a good answer. You could get images off the internet and print them on your printer. Okay, but this was not printed with a printer, like an inkjet printer or an offset press or letterpress. This was made with a photographic process. It's special paper that was exposed to light through a photographic image. So someone had to take a picture of this with a camera, make a negative, and then we expose light through the negative to, this is a light sensitive film. I'm going to put this over on the table so you can look at it. It does not have dots. It's called a continuous tone image because it goes continuously from white to black, which gives you gray tones. So it's a little bit different than the other thing we're going to show you here in a minute. Okay, the other way that we print image, like if I want to print that image, bless you, I have to create what's called a halftone. Now a halftone is made up of tiny little dots that allow us to reproduce that black and white and gray tones that you see in that image. So if you look over here behind you, you see on the wall over there, you see a picture of a lady. Okay, so when you see that, you see black and white and gray tones. I gotta put my glasses on to see that. Okay, well there's the same picture. So I'm going to bring it up and let you guys see it up close. So what do you see now? Yeah, you see dots, right? So that represents a halftone. Now the dots are so coarse here that you can actually see them with your eye, but when you get further away, they blend together, and then you can't see the dots. So this is another example of a 4-color process print. And you can see that there's pictures on here, images on here. These pictures that you see are made up with the same kind of dots that you saw in that sample. It's just they're so small, our eye can't make them out, right? They're so small, they blend together and give us the illusion of different colors. Okay? That's called a halftone. So that's important. All right, so how do we get that photographic image, the thing that you take a picture of? I mean, someone had to take a picture of this guy here, right? Someone had to compose all the words and the images, right? We did that on a computer. We combined it all together, and we output this on a piece of film. Okay, that's one method. So right behind you, if you look around, you can turn the light table on. So that is an example of the negative that we use to reproduce this print. So do you see how those images are kind of reversed? Yeah, it looks like he's a ghost, doesn't it? Okay? Because this is a negative. That's a negative. Okay, so that's the way that we would reproduce. Now we would take that negative and we would make a printing plate. So that negative would be put in contact with this aluminum plate, and you can see this is what it looks like when it's first made. It's kind of a green color, okay? And these areas, this plate will be put on the press. This is the black printer that you for that job. And so the silver areas are water receptive. They pick up water, and the black areas, or in this case green when there's no ink on it, are ink receptive. So when you talk about lithography, the word lithography means ink and water don't mix. So we put ink and water on the plate, the areas that are, where the image carry the ink, non-image areas carry the water. Okay, does that make sense? Now the word offset lithography, we take this plate and we put it on a cylinder, and we put it on a rubber blanket. If you look at that big machine over there, you'll see a plate like this, and you'll see a big rubber blanket. Ah, there's your rubber blanket. Okay, and that ink will transfer. Yeah, if we had ink, if this was wet with ink, you could actually transfer that, and then it would roll and transfer the image onto the blanket. Now, notice that the image here is right reading. What do you think it happens when it gets on the blanket? It's wrong reading, and then when we get back on the paper, when we're finished, here it becomes right reading again. So we're taking the image and we're offsetting it from the plate to the blanket to the paper. So that's where it gets its name, offset. And it's lithography because ink and water don't mix with the printing plate, and we call it offset lithography. So you guys are learning all kinds of cool words here. Now, this job was printed on a 2-color Heidelberg printing press. And so these was the first run. What colors did we print? Yellow and black. And then we added 2 more colors. Yeah, cyan and magenta is what we call them, to give us that finished print. Real quick, there are other types of printing plates that you can find out there. This is a plastic printing plate. Okay, they call them black plates or poly plates. And you can see there's an image on there. It's a little bit cheaper and it's easier to, to manufacture. And then this is an example of a printing plate that has been imaged, but we haven't developed it yet. Can you see the image on there? It's real light. It's called a latent image. This is a digital plate. So instead of using that piece of film, we have technology now where we can actually go straight from the computer and image the plate. It's called CTP. You know what that stands for? Computer to plate. CTP technology. So this is the technology.
Like the Germans, right direct to the point.
Yeah.
Computer to plate.
Computer to plate. Goes straight to it. All right, so let's see if you were listening. How many colors of ink do you think we had to put in our printing press to print this job?
4.
4. Very good. What are they?
Black, yellow, red, and blue.
Okay, so this is a progressive proof of this job. So you can see that there are 4 colors that we're using. This is called magenta. A lot of people want to say it's pink, but we call it magenta. This is cyan. You ever watch that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They had a $500,000 question about what was the process color used in printing that resembled blue. And I'm telling my wife, I know it, it's cyan. The guy missed it, I couldn't believe it. I got to get on that show. That was the only question I've known in the last.
I wonder if he'd answered process blue.
There you go. That would okay.
Because that's the other.
It's similar. Yeah. Then we've got yellow, and then we add the black. So here's an example of the magenta and the cyan mixed together. You see how you picked a lot of purples, and then here we added the yellow. We need the black to give it a little bit of definition to give us that nice sharp print. So this is a good example where you can visually see 4-color process. So most of the things that we have printed are printed with 4 colors. So here's a good example of the first run of the press. Again, we did this on a 2-color press. That's all we had at the time. And this was the first run. We ran magenta and cyan, and we added the yellow and black. You guys kind of see the transition? We start out with what kind of paper? What color was it? Just white. Just white, regular white paper. Now this is a project that we run with our students, and these are called 4-man color bars, so they go all the way across. But you see the cyan, magenta, and yellow, and do you see a lot more than 3 colors on this sheet? So how do you think we achieved all the different colors on these little dots? Yes? Okay, you're right. What do we print with? What am I printing on this sheet? With what? Halftone dots. So do you think if we change the size of the dot for each of the color and blend them together, we get all different kinds of combinations of color, right? So that's how we do that. We make the dots bigger or smaller for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and we can achieve all these different colors in our prints. Most people don't realize that you can get something like as beautiful as this. All these beautiful colors are printed with only 4 different types of ink. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay.
While you're taking that before we go, you all work with your computers. And what are the colors you use in your computers? Yes. Red, green, blue, right. Well, why, if you're using red, green, and blue in your computer, are we printing with cyan, yellow, and black, or magenta, yellow, and cyan, magenta, and yellow? If I mix red, green, and blue together, what color am I going to get? Pardon? White? Black? I'm not. I'm going to get light. Red, green, and blue are the primaries of light, and you can't print them. So to make that work, what we have to do is take the image, right, and filter it by putting a red, green, blue filter in front of our image. What we get is, if I get a red filter, the only thing that's going to pass through it is cyan. If I use a green filter on my image, the only thing that passes through it is magenta. And if I use a blue filter, the only thing that passes through is yellow. And that's how I get my cyan. That's why we use cyan, magenta, and yellow, because they are the opposites in the printing world. And that red, green, and blue. And that is why sometimes when you have an image on your computer screen and you go to print it out, it doesn't look the same. It's not a perfect transition. So you have to make adjustments. So we use cyan, yellow. When you took an art class in blue, you learned that red, yellow, and blue were the three primaries. And they are the other three primaries we use for painting. So we have many color modes. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I just passed out to you was was our brochure. This is what we printed. Our students designed this in my printing class. I teach at Fullerton Community College. Did you not get one? Sorry. Anybody else? Okay, so our students designed this on a Macintosh computer using Creative Suite software, probably in design. We took photographs of the college. There's a little QR code. This is a little code. I didn't want to print it on a piece of paper that, what size do you think this is when you open it up? Approximately. About 8.5 by 11, right? Well, our printing press can run up to 14 by 20 inches, so we designed this job. Not a very good press sheet. Yeah, it's not even two-sided. I have one that's two-sided over there. Well, I'll grab that later. I just want to show you. Can't believe I only had the one-sided. Anyway, this is a press sheet, so we can run them two up. And then I have the one that I have that's in my folder. It's over in my back. It's printed two sides. Okay, so then we just print them through the press. We trim them in half, cut them down. Yeah, it's inside there. And then we'll have two of our brochures for every one sheet that goes through the press. Okay? Now, where Paul works, they probably have big 40-inch presses. And so, you know, he can probably get a whole bunch of 8.5 by 11-inch flyers on one big press sheet. And so that makes it go a little bit better. Is that not two-sided either? I just grabbed those off the counter. Shoot. Well, I need to look at it before I do it. Okay.
Here's a two-sided one.
Yeah, but I wanted to show them the press sheet that had two sides on it. So now let's talk about something a little bit larger, right? I mean, this is a one-page brochure. Oh, by the way, this has all of the classes that we offered at our college in the spring. Have you guys done screen printing yet on t-shirts? We offer that. That's a real popular class. And we offer digital technology. There's a lot of things that we do there that if you want to learn more about printing, you can come see us. Now, what if you want to do something bigger, like a magazine or a book, like this phone book, right? How do you think they printed this phone book? Well, they printed on really big sheets like this. Okay, and these are called, this is a signature. How many pages do you think are we printing in the book with one sheet of paper? You have any ideas? Yes. 16. Well, there only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only see 8. Oh, you mean you're so you guys are pretty smart. Very cool. You're absolutely right. This is a 16-page signature. Someone tell you that. So bless you. So after we print our halftones with 4-color process, then we fold it up like so, and now we have a signature. And now we can put these signatures together, and we can create a book. You see all the signatures in there that are all sewn or glued together? And you put a cover on it. And so this is a kind of a neat example for you to see. This is an old sample. I could take care of it. All the signatures tied together. So what do you think they do with this after it's been all glued and put together like this in a phone book? You give it to the customer like this? What do? You what? You distribute it just like this, right? So if you want to go to the phone, you just go right to this page. Wait a second, I can't get to this page. What do we have to do to this? It has to be trimmed with a big paper cutter, right? You do 3 sides trimmed, and then you've got a finished book. Okay. Kind of cool how they do that. Okay.
You guys ever heard of a parlor? Not the one where you go like get your hair done. But parlor in homes was, you know, one of the front rooms, wasn't it? First room. The living room.
Is what you would consider your family room, living room? Yeah.
So, and they would have these in their homes, and, you know, people could actually print at home and make up invitations for parties and make thank you cards or whatever they needed to send out. So you guys can pick your own designs on this one. And we have some cool stuff like the Stegosaurus, which is a favorite. And you can print those up. Michael is going to give you a little demonstration over here of how the low works.
We're going to be printing this image here, or you're going to be printing. What we do is we take the brayer, and the brayer is actually the newest invention in terms of letterpress, because before the brayer they used leather daubers in order to apply the ink onto the press. You take the brayer, this is the foot for the brayer, this is where the brayer sits, and so that it doesn't lay down into the ink. And when you use it, you want to have the foot up. So then you roll across in one direction, so that if you rolled back, you'd pull the ink back off the plate or off the type. We then take a piece of paper, we just drop it onto our plate, apply a little bit more pressure so that we get a good impression, and then we push across, pull back, and this is faster than a Xerox machine. And then we take off, and we have our print. So by the time you leave, you'll be a printer. Okay? Who's first for the game on this? Okay? You can either start here, or you can come over here, and we can start over here. Okay?
You're going to be last.
Come on.
Okay. Ryan?
Okay, come on around.
Your name tag's upside down, right? That's right, I can still read upside down. Alright. Do you have an image that you like here?
You want to put it,
Which
roll
one?
it on in one direction.
Alright, so
Just
put it in
across.
here. Oh, other way. Yeah, there you go. Alright, perfect.
Good.
And then we'll do, just get it all right. Okay, now I'm going to let you go ahead and ink it.
Drop it on.
That's good. Perfect.
Put this down.
And then grab one of these postcards and you're going to place it on top. And then when you do place it on top, don't move it around. Because if you move it around, all that ink's going to smudge.
Got it? Okay, go.
Nice. Okay, so now we're going to close this up. This handle goes in there and you can push down.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
and then pull it right
You only
back
have
off.
to do one.
Good.
Take this off. Okay, and then peel off the page.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Figured out? Yeah. What is the paper right now? I figured it out. Tell them how they can tell the difference. Here's what happened. This piece of paper went to an offset printing press. Actually went to a completely different device. Now, you guys want something else?
I'm the committee chairman from Troop 169.
What's your name again?
Cindy Clemens. I'm with Troop 169 in Barstow, in California. I was looking for merit badges for the boys to do, and as I looked searching for merit badges, I found the Print Museum, and I found that very interesting that they had just completed a merit badge day, probably about a year ago. So I looked to see when the next one was, and then I was able to put the boys in. I found out that there was like 4 merit badge days offered for 2012. So we put the boys in, and then we started going to the website, and we found a day that worked for everybody. So we brought, I believe, 9 boys down, and they're having a great day so far. They've done they did screen print for T-shirts. They've done printing with the offset printing, and so far they look like they're having a great time. Now they're over there trying to learn how to make paper. So they've learned quite a bit so far.
Oh, good, good. And what else can you tell me about your experience today?
Well, they've. It is an excellent way for the boys to learn about paper making. They've learned how to do graphic arts. And I think maybe it may have opened up their eyes on what they can do next. You know, what kind of different careers that there are out there. How paper was made. They're having a great day.
Good.
I'd recommend coming back. We can't wait. We're going to try to make this like a yearly thing for the boys to come down. As the new boys come into the troop, we're going to see if they would like to come in and learn how to. They earned two merit badges today: the graphic arts and the pulp and paper.
Great.
It's going to be a great day.
Well, thank you.